Hello, and welcome to this recorded presentation on substance abuse. I'm sorry that I could not be there in person. I would like you to have a Google Doc out and ready to go or a Word doc out and ready to go. There are going to be 11 questions and a bonus question that you will be responding to throughout the course of this pre-recorded message. To start, I'm going to have you do your first question, which will be pausing this video, reading the thought of the day, trying to remember what the trans theoretical model of change is, the TTM. We talked about it during the first portion of our semester together. There was an exam question related to the trans theoretical model of change. And then I would like you to come up with an example or two that are realistic, that are maybe life applicable. It might take you a couple of minutes to do so. You can see my examples there. So I would pause it now. And then when you unpause it, you can hear what I say about trans theoretical model of change. So hopefully you've already paused it and now you're listening after you've written a few examples. If not, you can hear me say what the trans theoretical model of change is, some examples, and then you may pause it. And I would like you to do, here's where I am now. I could move here, I could move here, I could move here to get to a theoretically doable change, something that you are actually interested in making a change. So remember, the TTM recognizes change as a process that evolves and unfolds over time, involving progress through a series of stages while assessing an individual's readiness to act. So hopefully on your example, you are going to choose something related to something that you've been wanting to make a change. So if you say, I am not ready to start exercising, you are pre-contemplative and you should not write a goal related to exercising. If you say something like, I've been thinking a lot about becoming a vegetarian, there are a lot of good benefits on being plant-based, but I'm not quite sure I am ready to fully give up meat. You're in the contemplative stage, and maybe you could start thinking more about how that would work in your life. Maybe if you say something like, I think I'd like to start setting limits on my phone. I heard you can limit the amount of screen time you have and that your phone can lock certain apps like social media after spending too much time on them. I am planning on setting some limits for myself this weekend. Then you would be in the preparation phase. Or maybe you say, I have been drinking more water throughout the day, which was my goal. I've also stopped sleeping with my phone next to my bed, which means that I'm reading a book before bed each night instead of scrolling through the internet. You would be in action. Or maybe you say something like, last semester, I decided to set an alarm on my phone and I've been going to bed no later than 10 p.m., Sunday through Thursday, ever since. I feel so much better. I'm more awake during classes, I am happier during the day, and I can focus better when doing schoolwork. And that would be maintenance. So if you would like to write a few more examples, you may, or if you're good to go, I am good to go as well. So your first question of the 11 plus the bonus one was a response to the thought of the day one. The quote comes from 2 Corinthians 12:9. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast of all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. Sorry, I do not have this in presentation mode, so you can see all of my potential squiggly lines for grammar and such. Next slide. Define addiction. So for my second question on your Google Doc, I would like you to answer this question. Yes, it can be the same thing that you typed up in your quiz on this chapter. So if you would like to pause and write how you would define addiction, I am not going to write my response or tell you my response because you could just not pause and listen to it. Next one, pause it again. How would you then define tolerance? And again, this is your third question. You may type up your response, same as what you wrote for the quiz if you would like. Addiction. So the idea with addiction is the disease of brain reward, motivation, memory, and related circuitry. It's a dysfunction in these circuits that leads to characteristic biological happenings, psychological happenings, social, spiritual manifestations. So manifestations are like displays, appearances, happenings. What factors play a role in a person's likelihood to become addicted to something? So typically I would have you talk in your groups about this. I have given you a list of these. So these are some factors related to addiction. For your next question, I've offered 6 factors. So this is question 4. I've offered 6 factors that play a role in a person's likelihood to become addicted to something. Can you come up with a few other examples that are different than my 6 examples here? And then next, environmental factors, such as its availability, peer pressure, history of abuse or history of violence. For this one on slide 6, can you come up with a few other examples of environmental factors different than my given examples that might be a factor related to addiction? Age is another example or another factor related to addiction. The earlier a person begins using addictive substances, the more likely that addiction will hold. So it is something to consider. So here's our brain. Here's the hippocampus. That writing is very small. The hippocampus, a part of the brain concerned with learning and memory, grows in size with regular exercise over time. So as you are exercising, this is a bit of a segue, as you are exercising, your brain is actually growing and increasing in its size, not so big that you would need to get a new hat or a new beanie or anything like that. But the growth is what partially leads to improvement in memory and brain function, which is something that college students strongly desire. But then how does addiction play a role in our hippocampus? So why is our hippocampus involved in this? So exercise increases our brain size and functions. How does addiction play this role in our hippocampus? So addiction has this neurobiological impact on our brain. The hippocampus, so remember, it's not fully formed until you're 25 or so. So yours is still functioning and growing. Sorry, mine is functioning as well. Yours is still forming. The hippocampus encodes pleasurable experiences such as a high or feeling of pleasure doing to maybe a drug or an intoxication. And it feels like, oh, that was pleasurable. I enjoyed that. And it encodes it deep within your brain as a memory in order to repeat the behavior in the future, to say, hey, you like that. That was pleasurable. And now it's going to be encoded in your brain and it's going to be there as a memory that is with you for forever. And for some of you, especially if you have addiction in your family genetics, it's going to speak louder. That was pleasurable. And for others, it will be a soft whisper. But these encoded happenings will be in your brain, your hippocampus as a memory for forever. Here we are listing a few of the most common substance use disorders in the United States. I do not have a question on this one, but in 3 slides I do. I would have you talk about this in groups though and see if you came up with these. Alcohol, tobacco, cannabis, stimulants, and opioids. This one though, I would like you to think of. So you may either see my list or you may pause now. List a few of the most common substance use disorders in the United States related to emerging adults. So this list is just in general. This next list is related to this 18 to 25-year-old age range. And here is the list. Look at some of these stats. This is from the National Institute on Drug Abuse. They are reporting that young adults are the biggest abusers of prescription opioid pain relievers, of ADHD stimulants, and anti-anxiety drugs. According to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, in the past year, opioids such as Oxycontin, Vicodin, codeine, morphine, even then heroin, benzodiazepines, this word right here, such as Xanax to treat anxiety disorders, panic disorders, Klonopin to treat agitation, anxiety, seizures, Valium, Ativan, Versed, Restoral, Halcyon, all of these are now being abused. So they are quite frequently given to help some of these situations, but they're also being abused in high numbers. 1 out of 14 young adults have been using a hallucinogen of some sort in the last year. 1 out of 17 have used cocaine, which is wild. 1 out of 18, and I would think this is higher than the use of cocaine, misused opioids. 1 out of 22 have misused prescriptions, of that hard word to say, and continuing. And then I think at the bottom, it's probably one that you are not startled by, as my 5th question of the quiz for substance abuse was, what do you think are some substances that are misused? And a lot of you talked about the misuse of marijuana because it is so available, especially with the younger age availability and vaping and such. But 43% of young adults, 19 to 22, reported using it, and it's the highest rate in 35 years. I would like you, for this question, for this slide, would your order be different than mine for emerging adults? I think this is an unusual order. I would have put opioids higher and prescriptions higher, and then I would have put marijuana higher as well. Or would you have added something to it if you hadn't seen that yourself? So pause the video and say, what order yours would have been if you had not seen this substance use disorders in the US for emerging adults list. As again, this was given to us by the National Institute on Drug Abuse. Okay. Remains the leading preventable cause of death in the United States each year. Cigarette smoking. Some lung cancer facts. 90% of lung cancer deaths among men. Approximately 80% of lung cancer deaths are among women, and they are due primarily to smoking. Typically, then I pause and I ask people about cancer because all of us know somebody either intimately or removed who has been impacted or affected or maybe passed away because of cancer or who has beat cancer. Talk about how, hey, we're growing in our wisdom related to how to treat it. But lung cancer has a very low survival rate compared to some other types of cancers. It has the lowest 5-year survival rate compared to other common cancers. And typically speaking, and I'm sorry if this has impacted your family in any way or will in the future, but typically speaking, only 13% of those who are diagnosed with lung cancer are still alive after a 5-year diagnosis. 1, because it's difficult to treat, and 2, because it's difficult to notice right away. If we were in class, I would say early detection is the key. Early detection is the key. The sooner that you detect a change in your body and get it checked out, and the sooner that you get it treated, the less likely that it is then to become malignant and to spread. So cancer prevention strategies. So these 3 strategies come from the Harvard School of Public Health, and they are related to smoking-related cancers. And they're related to policy-based prevention, lobbying efforts, social determinants, related to who is getting these types of cancers, where are they getting them? Is it related to social determinants, to zip codes, things like that? So 3 main problems. There's a huge inconsistency with cigarette tax in the United States. There are some states which tax a carton of cigarettes at 17 cents a carton, and there are some which tax it at $3, $4, or $5 a carton. And when there is not a lot of tax per carton, you see a lot more people who are smoking and a lot higher rates of lung cancer. Lobbying effort, there are lots of organizations and businesses that will lose a lot of money if a lot of people stop smoking. And so they're paying a lot of money to allow people to continue smoking. And then social determinants, equitable access to cancer screenings, to cancer prevention programs, and more. Let's go back to the taxation. It would be number 1, a policy-based prevention strategy is taxation on tobacco. There's strong evidence that tobacco taxes are associated with reduction in tobacco use, which again is the primary cause of preventable cancers. Let's see, we've talked about lobbying efforts. Again, people who make a lot of money want to continue making a lot of money. And so there are many well-documented examples, including lobbying efforts by the tobacco or sugar sweetened beverages companies, maybe tanning industries, who want to continue with what they're doing so that they don't lose money. And then access to treatment. There's an example that I would like to have talked about with you in class. And so here I'm just going to just describe it here while you listen. Massachusetts Health, the Massachusetts Medicaid program, began a coverage for comprehensive smoking cessation, so the stopping of smoking, treatment in 2006. And within 2 years, 70,000 of their subscribers had used the benefit. So 37% of all of the state's Medicaid smokers, and again, Massachusetts is small, but that's a great start. The smoking prevalence among the group declined by 26%. The annual rate of admission for heart attacks was reduced by 46%. There was a 49% annualized decline in admission for coronary artery disease because heart attacks and heart-related issues have a strong correlation with those who also are smoking. And as a result, $3.12 in medical savings were realized for every dollar spent on the benefit. So prevention in action is fantastic. Cigarette tax rate by state. If we were together, I would ask you and your groups to talk about what states have the highest tax rates and which states have the lowest tax rates for cigarettes, but we're not in groups, so here we are. If you can see this is data from September 30th, 2023. If you can see, the lowest taxes are in the lighter colors. The highest taxes are in darker colors. 17 cents a pack in Missouri, $5.35 just of tax, not plus how much the carton itself, in New York. And it is per state, and they get to decide how they want to do this, and it greatly impacts. A lot more people here are smoking than are smoking here and in these areas. See if I've got a question coming up. Nope, not till slide 25. 2017, sorry, current smoking range from 9 out of every 100 adults in Utah to 26 out of every 100 adults in West Virginia. And so you can see again, these are the areas where the taxes were the lowest, and these are the areas where more people are smoking. I'm going to skip this. We've already done that one. And go here, the risk of cancer smokers versus non-smokers. This is the There Is Hope slide. I have another There Is Hope slide as well. This is called the Survivor Saviors graphic. The lungs of ex-smokers contained up to 4 times as many genetically healthy cells than those of current smokers. So showing that when a person stops smoking, their body goes, hey, 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 can we start to heal you? So protective cells, cutting the risk of lung cancer in ex-smokers, is continuing to grow and grow and grow, whereas it cannot do this protective mechanism while somebody is still smoking. And it continues and it continues. And if we look at a timeline of what happens when a smoker quits, a 15-year timeline. So if you have somebody in your family who has smoked cigarettes for a long time and they go, well, my lungs are shot, say, no, there is hope. 20 minutes after quitting, the heart rate and blood pressure drops back to normal levels. 12 hours after quitting, the level of carbon monoxide in the blood drops to normal. 1 to 2 weeks after quitting, circulation and lung function improves. 1 to 9 weeks after quitting, the norms like the constant cough, being out of breath becomes less pronounced. The tiny hairs in your lungs, the cilia, start to work normally again, cleaning the air. So you once again have a filter, whereas right now a smoker would not have a filter because they've been burned away. 1 year after quitting, the risk of getting coronary artery disease is half as high as that of a smoker's. 5 years after quitting, the risk of contracting mouth, throat, esophagus, and bladder cancer is half of what is that of a smoker. Risk of cervical cancer and stroke fall too. Very interesting. If you're interested in how they correlate, you can look it up on your own. 10 years after quitting, the risk of dying from lung cancer is half that of a smoker. Isn't that amazing? Other types of cancer risks also are decreased. 15 years after quitting, the risk of heart disease is the same for somebody who has smoked for 15 or for a long time, but not smoked then for 15 years, as somebody who has never, ever smoked. So great news, 15 years after quitting, you've got these really great, capable, clear youngs. So if somebody in your family gave up cigarettes today, within 15 years, and it's a slow progress, but within 15 years, your risk of lung cancer is dropping almost to those pre-smoking lows. So maybe you would share that news with somebody around you who is regularly smoking, right? Because you don't want to be getting exposed and you don't want to expose others. Oh, other alternatives better. This is a tough one. Also, I should have turned the lights on because it's getting quite dark. Question number 7. So you should be on question number 7. What are 3 dangerous components of cigarettes? What do you think is actually in the cigarette that makes them dangerous? Okay, you can cheat and just write down what I say, or you can say what you think, pause the video, and then come back. There are approximately 4,000 chemicals in one single cigarette. The 3 main dangers, the 3 things being put in the body are: 1, nicotine. Nicotine constricts your blood vessels of the skin. It increases your blood pressure. It increases your heart rate. It has a numbing effect on the taste receptors of the tongue. Not good things. Also, it's in vaping e-cigarettes. Number 2, carbon monoxide is a highly poisonous gas. It is also found in vehicle exhaust. If you're at a barbecue or at a bonfire, it would be the same stuff that's that smoke coming out of the bonfire. You wouldn't go up to a bonfire and go, oh, because you wouldn't want carbon monoxide poisoning. It's highly poisonous. It reduces oxygen carrying capacity of your red blood cells. It causes a reduction of oxygen in the body, therefore causing shortness of breath in the body. And 3, there's tar. It's that sticky substance that is toxic and carcinogenic, a cancer causer. It is what is believed to be the main contributor of the development of lung cancer. In chewing tobacco, the experience of nicotine without the exposure to the tar or carbon monoxide, but you're still having the nicotine. When it's accidentally swallowed, though, the carcinogens then that are usually spit out and then eliminated now have to be eliminated and digested in the digestive and urinary systems, predisposing those areas to cancer. What about e-cigarettes? Are they any better of an option? I think I have a second question on this one. Question 8. What do you know about e-cigarettes? Do you think that they are a better option? This is a tough one, right? We see a new product with the same industry. The tobacco industry is using the same old tactics. Why? They've made them fruit flavored. They've made them taste lovely. They've made them smell lovely. If we're in class, I would say, hey, you, ask me if e-cigarettes are better. And I would say, yes, they're so much better. They're so good at helping somebody to stop smoking, right? If somebody has stopped or smoking for a long time, and now they go to however you hold a vape of some sort, it's a similar thing, and it's a gateway to stopping. But then I would say, somebody else asked me if e-cigarettes are better, and I would say, oh no, they are terrible. Levels of nicotine are not regulated. They are highly advertised to youth, those who are underage. They're the #1 gateway to becoming a cigarette smoker. They're a really terrible device. More people who would never have smoked before are now smoking because they're the gateway with that. The Juul Pod, which is one of the more popular brands, currently has 40 milligrams of nicotine, which is similar to the amount of nicotine in an entire pack of cigarettes. And some people use 1 pod a day. So you're getting the same amount of nicotine as if you smoked an entire pack in one day. And nobody would smoke an entire pack of cigarettes in one day, right? Then I would say this. What's the purpose of a sponge? Pretend like you're holding a sponge. How would a sponge work? If you put a tiny dab of oil in it, right? That would be really hard. It would stop. Sponges are supposed to soak up and get rid of, soak up and get rid of. If you put a tiny dab of oil in your lungs, which are your sponges, that tiny dab of oil doesn't allow you to soak up and to filter, right? And what are e-cigarettes? It's a vaporized liquid with a delicious smelling flavor, but it's an oil. So when it is inhaled, you're not getting the carbon monoxide, but you're getting a vaporized liquid of oil, and that oil then is going into your lungs, and it is gently coating your lungs in a way that now your sponge is not working very well. I myself would like to have a highly functioning sponge. E-cigarette tax rate by the state as of 2023. How many or which states do you think have laws taxing e-cigarettes? Not a whole lot. Currently, it is very, very, very unregulated. This is from 1 year ago. They can basically do whatever they want to do, however they want to do. They can tax, they cannot. They can do a lot, they can do a little. And currently, it is not regulated in any way. And I'll let you feel how you feel about that. There are a lot of articles related to what do we know? We have decades and decades and decades and decades of information related to cigarettes and what they do because they've been around for hundreds of years. We don't have decades and decades. We don't even have a decade's worth of information. So I wrote this here, guinea pigs. Those who are currently vaping on a regular basis or here and there, you're guinea pigs because we don't have decades of information. There are so many different stories that you could read. This mysterious disease, we don't necessarily know how it's working within our body. And I think in a few decades, or maybe more than that, we will realize that it is actually not that great of an idea to do vaping and that it's not better than or an alternative for cigarette smoking. Real life application. If you were counseling a friend with addiction, so this is very similar to the question I had for the final question of your quiz for that one. Let me see where we are. Nope, next one, I've got a question. Those suffering from substance abuse might not acknowledge that there's a problem. They might believe that they can stop on their own and they might be in need of help. What are actions that would be deemed unhelpful to a person who struggles with addiction? What are some things that you just would not do? You wouldn't blame, you wouldn't shame, right? What are some things that would be helpful to a person who has an addiction? So these are the things that I hope by now we realize, gosh, with the coach approach or the Freights approach or mindfulness or motivational interviewing, you're not going to tell them how horrible it is, how stinky it is, how expensive it is. You're going to listen. You're going to connect. You're going to be non-judgmental. You're going to be appreciative to just be there with them and to learn more about what's going on. You're going to show compassion through empathy. You're going to exhibit honesty, right? I have come up with a list of questions that I would give maybe, or statements or comments if I were sitting with somebody who struggled with an addiction. If we were together, I would have you do this together. These are my questions. I would like you for your next question. So this should be for you, question number 9. What is helpful when counseling a friend with an addiction? Oh no, we're ahead. Don't do this one quite yet. These are some of my comments and such, but you can do the next question. I think I have it coming up here. Oh, this is a good slide. We know what we should do, right? But we also sometimes have a difficult time to do it. We know that we should work out 150 minutes. We know that we shouldn't stare at our phones all the time. Motivational interviewing, right? If I yell at you, why didn't you complete your activity log? Total number of minutes last week. I'm demeaning you, right? That would drastically approach how we change our responses. Okay, but I am going to ask you this question now. So this is question 9. If you're helping somebody with an addiction, is internal motivation coming from within the person who has the addiction, or external motivation, your amazing help, your words of wisdom, your own counsel, better for them? What is better for a person who is trying to get out of addiction, internal motivation or external motivation? Okay, if you need to pause, you may. The next slide is more informational. We are not meeting the week of Thanksgiving break. You will probably be watching this the week of Thanksgiving break, though. You also have quiz on chapter 11 due on Monday at our regular time. So wherever you are, please do that. The week after Thanksgiving, you have a quiz on chapter 13. It is called Positive Psychology. And then you have your exam 2, which is covering content from quad 2. It is not cumulative. I have last semester's study guide up, and it is still a great study guide, so I probably will not be adjusting it. I also have all of the PDFs in order. The final week of our regular classes before final exams begin, we'll be doing our fitness assessments outside at the track. Monday, I will meet with those whose last name is A through I. Wednesday, I will meet with those whose last name is J through Z. The week of final exams, we are not meeting together, but you do have a number of things to do. You can look on Canvas. One, you have your 15th week for your activity log number 5, all 15 weeks. You're going to be doing a wellness survey, which is department related. You're going to be doing an activity log total minutes, which is also department related. We're collecting some data. And then your final exam in the class is you're going to be, after you complete your final post-fitness testing, you're going to write a reflection paper related to this semester, I suppose, and where you are when it comes to fitness assessment testing. And then we will be doing the idea survey together in class. So you may take a screenshot of this, but also all of this is on Canvas. We're going to finish by watching a video together. This is called the Thailand Smoking Kid video. This has been touted as one of the best anti-smoking videos ever made. And then I have one final question. Let me read you my question. Oh, I have a slide that has the question. So on slide 39, I have the question. So we will watch this together. And then there's one final question plus my bonus question.
พี่ขอไฟหน่อยขอไฟหน่อยพี่ขอไฟหน่อยหนูดูดเองจริงเหรอไม่ได้หรอกมั้งอายุยังน้อยอยู่เป็นมะเร็งเนี่ยต้องไปเจาะคอไม่กลัวหมอผ่าตัดแล้วน้องบุหรี่มันมียาพิษอยู่นะมันทำให้หน้าเหี่ยวด้วยนะสูบบุหรี่แล้วก็ตายเร็วไม่อยากอยู่เล่นนานๆหรอมันไม่ดีรู้เปล่าสูบแล้วเป็นทั้งมะเร็งปอดถุงลมโป่งพองไม่ดีแล้วพี่ดูดทำไมล่ะคะ
Hey, final question plus the bonus question. What makes this video so effective? You may pause and reflect on that. And then my final question, you get 1 point bonus if you know the importance of the shirt that I am wearing and what it signifies without looking it up. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope that you are all doing very well, and I will see you the week after Thanksgiving. Bye.